Welcome to Miss Cougill's geometry class. We are going to review area and circumference real quick this week, and then we're going to move on to some new topics next week, area of a sector and things like that. So you have found the vocabulary review video. We're going to review a couple of vocabulary words. Hopefully you were able to bring your math notebook home with you before everything went insane. If not, that's okay. See if you can find a notebook around the house or some paper, but please take notes because, as usual, you should be using your notes on our weekly quizzes. So our vocabulary we are reviewing today: radius, diameter, circumference, and we'll talk about pi. So remember, at any time, the good thing about this is you can pause me if you need to get caught up writing, and you can speed me up if you need to speed up. So let's start by talking about radius. So before we went on this break, we learned about radius. A radius is the word is used in a couple of different situations. Sometimes we use it to talk about the segment. Sometimes we use it to talk about the distance. So a radius is the distance from the center of a circle to the edge of a circle. It can also be the segment. It is also the segment that goes from the center to the edge. Okay, let's draw an example of what this looks like. So I'm going to slide the screen up. So let's draw a circle as best we can. So here's my circle. I'm going to put a center point in it. Let's call that point A. I'm going to pick a point somewhere on this edge to put another point. How about right here? Let's call that B. Then I'm going to draw my radius in here. So my radius, I'm just going to connect points A and B. This is my radius. Sometimes on diagrams we'll mark a little R. So we can say that segment AB is a radius. And we remember there's an infinite number of radii that you can find. That's another important thing, is any point you put on the outside, you can connect it and have a radius. So radii is plural. That means more than one radius. Okay, let's move on and talk about diameter. So diameter. We talked about this prefix di right here, di. We know that it means 2, so we're going to look for that in the definition. It's going to pop up here in a second. So diameter, when we talk about in terms of distance, diameter is the distance from the edge of a circle through the center point to the other edge, or to the edge on the other side. It's also a segment, a line segment, connecting these points. A diameter is made up of two radii. And there's our 2. Diameter is made up of 2 parts. And you could also look at it as a diameter cuts a circle into 2 equal parts. So let's draw a picture of what this looks like. I'm going to slide the screen around again. Let's go sideways. Cool, so let's draw a picture of a diameter. So we're going to draw a circle again as best we can. And put a center point. Let's call that X. And then I'm going to put a couple of points. I'm going to put one here. This is W. And I'm going to get my line, my other point as best I can in a straight line. And I'm going to draw my diameter in, connecting W to X to Y. So just looking at this, I can say that segment WY is a diameter. If I'm looking at the other pieces in this, if I look at segment WX, WX is not a diameter, it is a radius. So we can say segment WX is a radius. There is another segment in this diagram, that is segment XY. So segment XY is a radius. Cool, so get all that in your notes, and we're going to talk about circumference. Here we go. Talking about circumference. Okay, circumference. Circumference is the distance around the outside of a circle. Circumference only applies to circles. It's like perimeter. But only for circles. So if I'm talking about the circumference, I'm talking about just the outside edge of the circle. The last word we want to talk real quick about is the word pi. Well, it's not really a word, it's a letter. Pi is a letter in the Greek alphabet. And it's called the circle constant, because we only ever use it with circles, really, and things related to circles. Most calculators these days have a button for pi, so I want you to check whatever calculator you have at home, see if it's got a button for pi. if you are using a website calculator, usually they have a button for pi. Often, if I need you to approximate the value, give me an estimate, I will ask you to use 3.14. So we can say pi is approximately, this little symbol right here means approximately. So pi is approximately 3.14. We know it's not exactly because that number goes on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and never stops. And it doesn't repeat. So we're not going to spend our life writing down a number though. So if you don't have a pi button, you can usually get away with just typing in 3.14. Doesn't always work. I will let you know if I need you to use something other than 3.14 though. Cool. Write down any questions you have as you're coming across them, and we will talk about them in our Zoom chat.